Hello everyone, welcome back to another Honeybee Stamps video. I am going to be creating a project today. You can see here on the screen using the really cool Very Merry stencil set. This is a set of 6 layering stencils, and this will allow you to either just use these images as you stencil them on the paper, or there's a coordinating die set so that you can die cut these images out and use them as you wish. I'm going to start off here with the first stencil, and I have my Altenew grip mat on my desk. Then I have a piece of white cardstock. I'm just going to tape that down I'm going to tape the stencil down to the grip mat just so that I can be sure that it doesn't move. And I am going to use Distress Oxide ink cubes to add color to the white paper. I'm starting off here with the gingerbread cookies, or the gingerbread people that are part of the imagery here, and you can see the lids of the inks that I'm using there on screen. And honestly, any ink that you have in your stash will do for adding ink to these different images through the stencil. So these stencils are so great because, first of all, I love that they're etched. So because they're etched with the images, they're so easy to line up. Because there are 6 stencils in the set, you want to be able to line these up when you go from one stencil to the next. So you just see that that piece of tape there allows me to create a bit of a hinge. When I want to clean the stencil, I put a piece of paper towel underneath the stencil. Then I'm just going to put a little bit of rubbing alcohol on another piece of paper towel, and I will just go ahead and clean the ink off. And then I will go ahead and move on from there. And so that whenever I want to clean any stencil, whether I'm finished with the stencil or I just want to clean that ink off before I move on to another color, so that I don't contaminate another area of the stencil with that first color. Now I'm going in with some yellow here, and I'm going to add some color to the stars. You notice every once in a while I will use a little bit of tape to mask off some of the areas, but actually Honeybee has done a really great job of separating the open areas on the stencil for the most part. There's not a lot of these stencils that you do have to tape off, because they've done a great job of leaving the openings quite a ways away from the image that you're going to be coloring next, if that makes sense. So now I'm just making sure that I've added the ink to all of the different areas I want to there. This is the next stencil. And oftentimes what I'll do is I'll either lift the stencil up using that hinge, or I'll just use my finger to feel the openings in the stencil. Because this is a clear stencil, you have to kind of like find little different ways to see where the openings are in the stencil for adding color. I'm going to add some green to the Christmas trees and any of the different areas where I want some green ink here. And I'm just going to continue on through this process of adding ink to these stencils. Now, I'm not going to show you all of the ink blending for all 6 of the stencils, because it's just the same thing over and over again. I use the same method of taping the stencil down and lining the stencil up, going to another color, and so on, finding the openings in the stencil. And eventually I'm going to get color added to all of these different areas on the 6 different layering stencils. Now, I did also want to add some detail using some paste. So I'm going to use a little bit of gold glitter paste. This one happens to be the Crafters Workshop Champagne Stardust Butter. And I just like how that just adds a little bit of really pretty detail and dimension to some of the different areas. I'm also going to use a little bit of lunar paste. This one is Prom Queen. It is a little bit more messy and not as thick as the Crafters Workshop stencil butters, but also really fun. I love the color palette that Simon has with his lunar paste, and so I really wanted to use this gorgeous bright pink on some of my different areas of my stencil as well. So it looks a lot messier actually than it is. You just lift that up and take it to your sink and wash it. Once those pastes were all dried, I'm going to put some finishing details with a little bit of black ink, and then I'm going to go back again in with my paste. Once I get this added, I just found there was a few areas that I wanted to add a little bit more gold, a little bit more of that champagne paste to some different areas. And here you'll just see me lift this up soon, and just take my craft pick and lift it up at the bottom. And there you can see all of the details with the different pastes. Now, once I die cut these, once the pastes were all dry and the ink was dry, I die cut these using the coordinating dies that you can see there to the left. And I did not take enough time to line these up very well. There's a little bit of white area there, but that was actually a really great happy accident, because what I'm going to do is take my quickie glue pen and add some glue to those areas, and then I'm going to put some glitter over top, and that's just going to be perfect. It finishes these die cuts off so nicely, makes them look really nice and festive, and I really like how they turned out there. So now I've got all of these fantastic pieces to use as embellishments. Like I said, you could just use that stenciled imagery for a card front if you want, but I chose to die cut mine out. And I'm going to be using my Sweet Stacks rectangles, and I'm also going to use this gorgeous 3D embossing folder called Snowy Pines. It's an older one. Lots of you might have this in your stash from a previous release. But I die cut that rectangle and embossed the paper with that 3D embossing folder. Now, these little die cut postage stamps are from the Time to Go Postcard die set. This is a fantastic die set. If you haven't purchased that one yet, I highly recommend it. It is so awesome. And there's dies in there that allow you to cut out these postage stamps as well as a little frame for them. And my idea was to create just some little postage stamp elements for my card front. So now you can just see all of my little die cut pieces are perfect sizes for little postage stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and take these little elements and adhere them onto these postage die cuts. And I'm going to have tons of embellishments for some cards. I'll have lots left over. I'm not going to use them all up on this one project, but you'll just see here. I am going to end up using 5, I believe, to adorn or decorate the front of my card. So right now I'm just kind of looking at it and seeing how I might like to design the card front. I thought about just using 3, but I am going to use 5 when it's all said and done here. I'm going to start to put my card together. So here's that embossed rectangle. I did die cut with the next size of rectangle larger. I die cut a square or a rectangle of craft cardstock. And so I've got that embossed piece adhered onto the craft. Now I'll just go ahead and adhere that onto the center of a white top folding A2 size card base. And just get that centered there. And then that's just going to be the perfect panel for the front of my card to adhere the details. So again, here we go with these sweet little postage stamps. I'm going to get the 2 corner ones down, and then I will pop the Christmas tree up on some foam adhesive there in the center. And now I'm going to add the little bell and the Santa hat. So now all we need is a sentiment and maybe a little bit of bling. So this sentiment set is called Warm Holiday Wishes Sentiments. I think I used it on my last project as well. I really love it. It is so gorgeous. Such a beautiful set. And I'm going to use this more linear sentiment here because it just fits with the front of the card design so well. I'm going to stamp this out. I believe it says From Our Home to Yours. And I'm going to stamp that out with some black ink and then take the coordinating die and die cut that. I'm going to add a foam strip onto the back, and that is going to be ready to add to my card front. I'm just going to add it to the bottom of that Christmas tree postage stamp on the front. And now I just decided I wanted to add a few of the Merry Moments gem stickers. This is one of the 2 embellishment stickers for this release for Merry Moments. There are pearls and there are gems. The gems are gorgeous, and I am going to put a few of the gems on the front of the card before the card is finished here. So I'm just going to grab my pen blade. I'll put a couple of the blue gems and a couple of the white gems on my card to finish it off. Friends, I have linked up in the description box below the video to all of the different products that I've used for my project. And if you go ahead and shop with those links in the Honeybee shop, those are affiliate links. I will receive a small commission at no extra cost to you. Have an amazing day, and I will be seeing you again. Happy crafting, friends. Bye-bye.